Welcome to Chex Play, the best casino podcast. Let's do it.
Yay, I'm back in Mexico right now. But okay, I'm happy to be back here, but I was also, I had spent like a great time with you there in Punta Cana. Although I was looking forward to be back in Mexico too.
Yeah, I kind of was excited that you're back to Mexico too, because I knew that you were missing it. Not that I didn't enjoy your company here in Punta Cana. I mean, Kasia, we had the pools, we had the foam parties, the beach, beautiful beaches, and you were sleeping.
That's true. I think I needed a break, so I was almost all the time sleeping and using the time this break to sleep.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. We met some cool people here while we were here too. I'm so excited today because you've heard all about it. I've talked about this gentleman since you were in Punta Cana. He's not going to disappoint. He's a gentleman that when I got to Tampa, I worked with him in Tampa, Florida at the Hard Rock and Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa. And when I got there, he was very welcoming, just a cool gentleman to work with. He was the director of slot operations. And I think they had about 15,000 slot machines or something like that, And but he was never flustered or anything, just a good quality person. Now he's with Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. He's Associate Vice President of Gaming Operations. We're going to introduce him to you right now, to everyone here, Mr. Dan Gura. Dan, hello.
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, welcome.
Hey.
Super nice to meet you, and we are excited to have you here.
Yes, nice to meet you. And Bruce, it's always good to see you, man.
Oh man, I've been bragging about you, not just to Casa, to everybody. And I got a little emotional this morning because I'm a little under the weather. I have the flu bug, so I think I'm a little, sensitive right now. So I'm a little sensitive. And I was watching something, and it was talking about old friends, and and so forth, and what people do to you when you encounter their souls and meet them. And you're that guy, man. You've always been that guy, good quality person. And I miss, like I said, we didn't work directly with each other all the time, but if I passed by you and we spoke, for a couple of minutes or so, something like that, it was just a good connection always, man. So
no, likewise. And it's funny, we have that kind of core group of people from Seminole, Tampa, right? Because back in the day, it was quite different than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of go through the day-to-day grind with that group of people, and you come out on the other side and you're like, man, we're a lot closer, had each other's backs, learned a lot. So It was a fun process, man. And I'm fortunate that we're still friends today.
Absolutely. So congratulations. You're with Royal Caribbean Cruise Line.
Yeah, it's funny. God, so I didn't realize you started in Tampa in 2005.
2007.
That's when I started.
2007.
Okay,
yeah.
So I graduated from Florida State in 2004, worked in sales for a year, didn't really love it. And I remember talking to my parents, and my mom said, hey, what about the casino in Tampa, the one that Fontana runs? And I was like, the casino where? She was like, the one in Tampa. I was like, you mean the bingo hall? Like, not quite the casino that I'm thinking of. But I remember walking in there and seeing the energy and just loving it. And 17 years later, I was still there. Did a variety of positions in marketing, then moved over to slots, never wanted to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And a really unique position just came open in Royal. And, we thought long and hard about it, prayed about it, and it ended up being an amazing move.
I mean, I was thinking that did you just get struck by lightning or something when that happened? Or were you, I'm going to be a fly in the wall. What was that conversation like? Were you in the bar playing darts and somebody you ran into said, hey, man, I'm looking for you. Got this position, Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's a fun story. So my family, we had been on maybe one cruise prior, and it wasn't with Royal. It was with a different cruise line. And we started thinking about, hey, we want to do a family vacation. Let's do a family cruise. And somebody brought up Royal Caribbean. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've heard it's a cool cruise line. So we were planning an Alaskan cruise. And that was before this position even was open. And like a month later, I get hit up on LinkedIn from somebody saying, hey, we have this position. We think you'd be a great fit. Here are some of the details. And I replied back, said, hey, thanks so much for reaching out. I typically, don't respond to recruiters on LinkedIn. I love my job. I love the tribe. I don't ever want to leave.
Mhm.
However, Royal Caribbean's a cool brand. It's a family-oriented vacation cruise line. I'm married with 2 boys. Seems like it could be a cool fit. And she was real cute. She replied back. She goes, well, I also love my job. And let me tell you why I think I work for the best company. And it just kind of escalated from there. And
Wow.
this was still right as the cruise line was coming out of COVID. So
Right.
everything was Zoom, Teams, right? Everything was remote.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually went on my
Reboot.
first virtual, I actually went on my first virtual interview with them without even telling my wife, because I was like, I'm not going to freak her out. I'm not going to
Yeah.
stress her out. This is nothing. And it just escalated from there. And then the family bought in on it, and we decided to make the move.
Wow. Wow. Congratulations, man. You would never think that you would be, well, first of all, you never thought you would be working in the casino with the tribe. And that turned out to be a 17-year journey that you would never leave. So now that you're there, is it what she promised?
It is, Bruce. And so one of the cooler things about it are, being in the operation day-to-day land-based casino, it's a grind, right? It's late nights, it's weekends, it's holidays. That's where the business is, and no complaints here, because that's what we all signed up for. What I'm able to do now on the cruise line, it's a shoreside position where it's the corporate position, it's strategic, it's working with the ships, but they all maintain their autonomy and they do a really good job running independently, and we support them shoreside. But the work-life balance is amazing. I'm leaving tomorrow to actually fly out to Seattle to get on that Alaskan cruise that we were planning a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And then we come back for a week, and then we're headed to Europe for a Greek Isles cruise, and I get to meet the team on that ship. And just the business that it is, the family comes with you. You've got meetings on the ship. You can go knock those out. The families, there's plenty to do on the cruises. It's a really family-friendly environment, and it is such a high upside. Like, the trajectory for a lot of the cruise lines, us included, are just, there's so much opportunity in front of us, and the bounce back from COVID has been so much fun to be a part of, and we have a lot of growth over the next 10 to 15 years, and it's just exciting to be a part of that.
Wow, that's a great change. And but I wonder, how you were dealing all this time, 17 years in track with this stress, with this pressure, from all over the sides, and like dealing with so many people. Like, how you were dealing with stress and this high responsibility?
Well, it's an amazing team, right? It comes down to, you really love the people that you work with. You form these bonds like Bruce and I have, and you're going to work, but you're going to work with people who you really care about, right? And you care about the guests so much, and you want to make it a great experience for them. And the tribe was so great at really letting you kind of run your business, right? Like, there's always going to be the oversight, there's always going to be the compliance piece, but they let us operate really independently and really kind of move the operation forward. And we have great support from the top down. So it was hard, but we were built for it, right? The property was built for it. We were built for it. So, seeing those successes together kind of like made it all worthwhile.
Seems like you were super passionate about your work, no?
Oh, very much, very much. It's funny. I remember walking in when I first interviewed at Hard Rock, and there was 3 things that stuck out to me, right? Music was playing. I love music. People were drinking. I like to have a good time. And everybody was gambling. And I was like, yep, I can get down with this. Those are 3 things that I like. And so it's the true. It's like the old adage, right? When you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. And that's really what it was. I was just passionate about the industry, and still am today.
Yeah, that's true. And I was wondering, because nowadays, like, the motives and the motivation of people are changing, and also they're looking kind of that their work will be their passion. And how do you were addressing this change for your employees? Like, did you have any special development plans that they can, I don't know, like, I just wonder, or you were provoking this motivation and the passion in your employees so they love their work, and how you were doing this? Because I think it's a big change all over the world, that people want to have a sense, like, feeling of the sense in their work. And
sure. So, one of the things that we tried really hard at Hard Rock is we tried to build a lot of bench strength and we had a great succession plan. And I was blessed to have a lot of internal opportunities. And so you try to kind of pass that along, right? You want to do whatever you're setting up in your business. You want to make sure that the people behind you are ready to step up and take on bigger roles, because it's not just your success, it's the whole team's. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we're doing at Royal also, as the casino becomes a bigger piece of our business, we're creating opportunities for internal team members, because if we don't have those people ready to step up, then it's kind of shame on us, right? We're kind of limiting what we can do. So I think building that for the team to see kind of gives them that extra motivation that, sure, it's a bit of a pyramid, right? There's less positions the higher up you go, but still to see, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z to get to this next level. And hey, look, it's happening all around me. These people have those opportunities. So as they see that, it's a bit of like an intrinsic motivation to where they're naturally going to want to work harder for it, because they know that it's going to pay off for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was interesting, because that brings to mind, Dan, you'll remember this. Before we got there, table games, remember they had the school for in-house people to become dealers. Mm-hmm. And I think, if I remember, was it like 300 and some students maybe from all of the other departments in the dealer school? I think
so, yeah.
But we only took about 60. And so there was a lot of disappointment and so forth, because everybody wanted to be a dealer. They knew that was, first of all, it's an exciting position, and estimated that the tips were going to be strong, because it was a monopoly on the business. We had no competition, and it was. So people were disappointed, and they had to transition back to their home department. And I remember there were a bunch of people in slots that remained there, and they weren't unhappy. They were happy in their position, although there were disappointment because they felt that they didn't achieve their goal, but they were happy where they were in slots. Because, and it makes me think of this too, the employee surveys. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't your department at Tampa always outscore everybody else corporate wise with regards to the amount of people that took the survey and then the survey score overall?
It is. Yeah, we were fortunate. We had a really good culture. That was the highest that we did was over on the marketing side, when I was our director of casino marketing, and we had Players Club and some other departments. We had a really, really engaged team. And it's tough, man. Players Club is a grind, right? Yeah. Players Club is a grind department, but we just had a really fun team. We created opportunities for them to cross-train with other departments. So you always felt engaged, even if that position wasn't available. You were learning and challenging yourself. So yeah, we had David DeMontmollin, right? Yeah. He was a big force behind that. So
that's your partner.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, the thing was, I don't know if it was a fair score or not, because if you had 10 people versus 1,500 or 2,000 staff members, I don't know how the metric was scored at. But the thing was, so Cassia, there was two challenges, because it was voluntary. So the challenge was to get people engaged enough and connected and believe in it enough, because a lot of people say, no, I'm not going to do that, because they're not going to do anything. They're not going to make any changes, or whether I'm happy or not. They're just doing it for, pie in the sky or whatever. So there was a challenge of, am I going to do it or not? But they scored high with people taking the survey. And that the second part of it was to have positive results. And I was always wondering, how does, and I didn't say it to other people. I kept it to myself, saying, man, what's Dan doing over there, man? What's he doing? And I would go past your office, and you had this keyboard that was hanging in the sky on the trapeze. I said, oh, that's what it is. He doesn't sit down at a desk. that's because I'm trying to, I'm looking at Kevin Hettinger. I'm trying all these guys that I really admired. What are they doing different? He's got his keyboard, his computer's hanging up in the ceiling, and he's got a trapeze on the keyboard. He stands up at his computer. He doesn't sit down. That's what it is.
It's funny, Bruce. I am ultra competitive, right? Like to a fault, to where it's not fun to play board games with me. Like everything's a competition. I hate losing way more than I enjoy winning. Right? It's just it's a certain kind of mindset. But when it came to the survey, like I took it personally, right? And I said, nobody's going to be better than us. But the biggest key to it was the survey isn't something that we talk about once a year, right? Engagement surveys are things that we live and breathe 365 days a year. And I want to use the survey as an opportunity to show the other departments what we do better. That's literally what it came down to. And
you got our attention, Dan. And so how did you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, through our course of a year.
it was just it's constant, right? It's constant meeting with the team. It's creating opportunities for them, even when there's not positions open, like we talked about these cross training opportunities. It's being available, right? One of my favorite sayings, and I remember hearing it from Bill Parcells. I don't know if it was him who said it first, but the best ability is availability, right? And it's always being available for your team. David and I did some funky, fun stuff, right? We changed the open door policy to a no door policy. We took the door off the hinges and threw it away. So we said the office is always open.
Wow.
We were with the team. We were taking them out to different, restaurants on property so they can experience it and pass along that experience to the guests, but also so they can get one-on-one time. It's not about your performance. It's not about what you're doing. It's about who are you? How's it going? How's it going outside of work? Right. Because we always make sure they know life outside of work is way more important than in work. And if you don't have that balance, you're not going to be successful at either one. So we just really care about people.
Yeah, it's caring about people. And I wonder, because you built a highly performing and engaged team, and I wonder, what would you do if somebody was high performing person and then suddenly he changed? I don't know, like he stopped like being engaged, motivated. What would you do?
Sure. No, it's a fair point because it happens, right? I think you hope that you've had the time to build that personal relationship with somebody to where you can even pick up on it, right? You don't need to see a drop in performance. You can pick up on it, and you just need to be able to have open conversations with them, right? Make sure people know you care about them. And it's not just about, hey, you're slipping at work. It's about, hey, what's going on with you as a person, right? We talk about mental health, and we talk about, some of the challenges that we all have come out with after COVID. And it's important to really stay engaged with people and make sure you know how they're doing personally and professionally. But I think it's just giving them an opportunity, right? If you see a slip in performance, I'm not going to have a recency bias and think about, what you've done lately. I'm going to think about what you've done the whole time that you've been here. Yeah. And if there's a slip, we just, do what we can to help them get back on track.
Yeah, I worked with it's almost, I almost slipped and said the name, but I worked with an individual that was very insecure about their position with another company, and we were opening up. And they went from a floor supervisor to a shift manager to the director of operations in a very short window. So there was some insecurity there, and that they were always trying to show that they had their game together. And it was obvious, and it got weak. They became weaker and weaker, and they did everything they could to get rid of people as opposed to find ways to keep a person there. And there was a book about that. There's a philosophy. You may know what it is. But that philosophy, do whatever you can to keep a person rather than to get rid of them. And that's when I actually learned about those things. And so that kind of changes because some of those things, if you work around in that atmosphere, that culture, it can rub off on you.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. And so it was a blessing that I got away from that mentality and so forth, and got to work with people like you, and Paul Malo and so forth, Stacy Gallo and so forth. And she's doing quite well there now.
She's doing great.
Doing great. And Paul as well. So I wanted to ask you this. Where are you originally from, Dan?
So born in Illinois, but I moved down to Florida when I was like 7. So grade school, high school, everything was in Tampa. But
did I read that you were born in Peoria?
Peoria, Illinois.
You know, there's a famous person from there.
Who's that?
You don't know?
No.
Come on. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Man, my mom's going to be so disappointed.
Are you kidding? You have to be kidding me, Dan. You know what though? I had you way up here. Way up here. Uh-oh, my God, am I sweating? Yep, I am. I had you I just knew you were going to tell me and give me the whole history. Richard Pryor is from Peoria, Illinois.
Get out, really?
You know who Richard Pryor is?
I love Richard Pryor.
He's from Peoria, Illinois.
Oh my God!
He grew up. His grandmother raised him in a brothel. His mother was an alcoholic.
So disappointed.
Yeah, this is the whole thing about that, and that's why I never knew of Peoria, Illinois until I knew who Richard Pryor was. He put Peoria, Illinois on the map.
My parents were there for like 40 plus years. I think my mom still has a coffee mug that says, "I found euphoria in Peoria."
Oh man, you know what? Don't tell her you don't know that, because
I'm gonna. God, I love Richard Pryor too. That guy was amazing. That's a shame.
Just say one casually one day went around the dinner table, we're out having dinner, says, I was reading about, Richard Pryor. Man, did you guys know Richard Pryor? Because that's how I knew about Peoria, Illinois.
Oh wow, that's funny.
Yeah, he died in 2005. Yeah, he's like 65
Wow.
years old, had a heart attack. There was a thing about Richard Pryor where he was on crack cocaine, and he was smoking crack cocaine one night and just out of his mind. And I guess his pipe or something had alcohol in it or something, and it caught fire. And did you remember hearing that about that, Dan? And he caught fire, was running down the street on fire. You know, they thought he was going to die and everything. Yeah. So anyway, Richard Pryor from Peoria, Illinois.
I love it. Love the history lesson.
There's got to be like a museum or something, some streets named after him because he put.
After this, I'm gonna follow up. I'm gonna send you something. I bet my dad's been to a stand up or something of his.
So as the AVP, how many ships does Royal Caribbean have?
So we have 26 ships. Next year we'll have 28, and they're positioned all around the world, primarily in North America, right? Our North American gaming market, and all of onboard revenue for that matter, it just crushes it. But we have ships in Australia, Europe, Asia, kind of all over.
And what's the average size of a casino? Say, for instance, like the number of slot machines, number of tables, and so forth.
Sure. So our smaller, older ships are probably 150 slots, 20 tables. But our bigger ships now, we're over 400 slots, 40 tables across the fleet. We're at like 6,200 slot machines and like 470 tables total. Mm-hmm. So it's a big operation when you think of us as one business together.
And are you making them? And it has to be probably a push, but I'm sure there's, depending on the locations or the origin or region, are you putting some type of symmetry to it where they're consistently operated the same way, or what? How's that? Is that the challenge?
Yeah. So, the North America is pretty similar, right? And the team has done a great job running those ships, but even the product, right? We can have product that works, on one ship, we're going to have it on another ship.
Sure.
Getting aggressive with our lease games, some of the most popular lease games, making sure those are everywhere. Mm-hmm. Now we're even trying to create a bit of a high limit area, just so when you go on each ship, you can expect to have some different types of games that high limit players want to see. So trying to standardize that is definitely an effort, and we're doing a pretty good job with it. But then the challenge for us is a ship that is in Asia is obviously totally different from a gaming standpoint. So that casino model's flipped, and it's heavy tables, less slots. Baccarat. And that's not a big, yep, for sure. And that's not a big deal for us. What gets challenging is when ships are rotating from an Asian market to perhaps Australia. Wow. It's how you flip that casino to optimize the gaming in each area. So that's a fun challenge that we're working on now. But it's never a dull moment, man. I'll tell you that much.
Creative. Cassia had her first experience in the casino while she was here in the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
And she was we didn't go to a casino here in Punta Cana, but when she was in Santo Domingo, she went to a casino there, and they probably had about, I'm going to guess, maybe about 400 machines. And I told her about you. How many machines did you have in Tampa?
So when I left, so we had Dan Inkster as our VP. I was our director of slots. Jim was the director of performance. And I want to say we were right around 4,800, 5,000 slot machines, somewhere in there. Yeah.
I was giving her that understanding, because she saw, wow, they got so many slot machines in there. And she, wow, I said, let me tell you something. We had almost 200 tables, and we had 5,000 slot machines. And, we did that. We were doing that while we were eating a salad. You know what I mean? It was easy. But the difference is, Cassia, when you have an operation that large, you have a lot more support systems.
Okay.
You have a scheduling, you have administrators and things like that, that can help, manage the personnel, move all the bodies and all of those things. The smaller the property, you're going to work much harder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like most of the work you will have to by yourself. Yeah, you will not have the support from people that much. I was wondering, Dan, like what was, because you were changing many positions and you were, growing, you were promoted. What it takes, like who you were, and like that people trusted you to promote you higher and higher. Which advice, like also you would give for people to be promoted, to be great leaders, to be not those bad leaders that people do not want to follow?
Sure. as far as promotion goes, I noticed this early on in my career. Like a lot of people, it's almost like you're in college and you're studying your major and you're kind of just laser focused, blinders on, this is what I'm doing. And when we got into Hard Rock, a lot of people were like, I'm in this department, I'm going to grow in this department. And the one thing that I realized was, if you kind of take those blinders off, there's so many different pieces of the operation that are integral to the success. And you can bounce around and learn different things without ever starting a new career, right? That was one of the coolest things to me in the casino, is you can do so many different things, but you're still at the same company with the same people under the same structure. And I really just took advantage of that. If there was different opportunities and I thought it would be a good fit to help me grow, I was open to it. As far as leadership goes, the one thing that I tell people all the time, take everything as an opportunity, as an example. And there's going to be great leaders along the way, right? The Fontanas, the Lupos, the DeMont Mullins, Inksters that you want to learn from. And there's going to be some not so great leaders that you want to learn from also. And I remember being in a situation where it was really uncomfortable, and the way that somebody was talking to me was, not how I would want to be talked to, and just the frustration in their voice. And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm going to use this as an opportunity, and I'm never going to forget the way that this is making me feel right now. And I'm going to make sure that I never make anybody else feel that way. So I think as leadership goes, it's taking the good and the bad and just picking apart what you want and trying to form your own style of leadership.
True. And growing and being promoted also, takes like different responsibility. You have different tasks. What helped you to grow to those positions? Because you had, like, before you had a different position, and now you have different responsibility, more people maybe to manage. It's different. I mean, how did you jump to be ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think part of it is just having confidence in yourself, not being overwhelmed, having that support network that you can fall back on. It's funny, even in my role now, table games is not my background, right? It's a big chunk of our business, but I'm not, ashamed to say I don't know what I don't know. And I ask a lot of questions, and I think about, picking, Bruce's brain, or Paul, or Charlene, or Stacy. And we had this great table games group. And, I reach out to Stacy now. Bruce, I had a question the other day, and I was like, you know what? I got a friend who knows it a lot better than I do. I'm going to reach out to Stacy. I'm going to ask her a question. So I think being okay and being aware of what you don't know, and making sure you're surrounded by people who, are really, really smart, and you can lean on them for advice. I think too often people get to a certain point and they think that they have to know everything, and they want to answer a question or speak up just because they think that's their responsibility now. And I'm a bit of the opposite, right? I don't ever want to be in a conversation where I'm BSing my way through it. I want to be confident in what I'm saying. And if I don't know something, I'm going to find out. But once I find out, I'm not going to forget it, right? Yeah. I'm not going to forget it and ask a second time. So, I learned that early with Lupo. Remember Joe Lupo, Bruce?
Absolutely. Yeah. He got me ready to come here. So
yeah. I learned early. I remember being in a meeting with him, and he was asking a couple questions, and fortunately he was patient with me because I didn't have the answer, but I was writing notes, and sure as shit, next time the meeting came through, I was ready to go. I knew those answers. So I think it's just learning and adapting along the way, but being okay to, let somebody know, hey, I'm not sure, but let me find out.
Yeah, isn't that cool when the person gives you that opportunity rather than to cast you to the side and doesn't have the patience?
100%. Bruce, I remember one of my favorite stories is when I was our ops manager early in my career, and I was reporting directly to John Fontana. It was myself and Lucy. And I remember the first meeting with John, it was after we'd been on the job a couple weeks, and John and I met out by the pool because, of course, he wanted to smoke a cigar. And we're sitting there talking, and he's asking me about things, and my mind was going a million miles a minute. I was like, well, this happened, and I should have done this. And then I told him this, and I changed my mind, and this, and I didn't want to mess up. And John kind of like sat back, and he was laughing. He was like, relax, relax. Now, I won't say exactly what John said to me, but I'll use a letter from the word. But he goes, Danny, you have to understand one thing. There's nothing that you can F up bad enough that I can't fix the next day. And what he meant by that was, I'm always going to act with integrity. I'm always going to be accountable. I'm never going to try to make the wrong decision. It might not be the best decision, but he knew that I had those values and I was never intentionally going to do anything to harm the business. So as long as we had that understanding, whatever I did couldn't be wrong, right? It might not have been the best, but it would never be bad. And I was just like, whew, like a weight off your shoulders. You're like, man, I have the freedom and flexibility now, and I have the confidence of my leadership. I can do anything.
Because he went through the same thing.
100%.
He went through the same thing, you know, whether it be with Jim Allen or somebody, you know. We did a podcast with him, and he was saying how
I saw
he never thought that he would stay with the company and then all of a sudden they had another growth spurt, and you know, he thought that he may not be there, but Jim had the confidence in him because he saw that you can see what's in somebody's DNA, how they operate, their integrity. You know, this person doesn't know now, but he knows how to find out. There's an old book that I read years and years ago that turned the light on for me. It was called The Power of Thinking Big. And there was a quote in there that says, the smartest person in the room is not the person that has all of the answers. The smartest person in the room is to know how to find the answers. And that is something that you have to intrinsically understand and be comfortable with. I don't like not knowing either. You know, I don't like losing. But tell you what, you ask me tomorrow, we had a guy here, I guess because I was the director of operations, and that included, you know, slots and other areas. I was primarily table games. And so now I went from a shift manager position. Now I had to come up with quarterly reports and this and that. So we would be in these meetings, and the slot guy, he would just make these PowerPoint presentations, like 75 slides with this metric and that metric and this metric and that metric. And I'm like, holy fuck, what are they talking about? And some of it was in another language, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm looking like an idiot. Oh man. And so when my time finally came, I says, I don't know. And this guy lit me on fire. He threw gasoline on me and threw a match on me because he just took the opportunity, because he always wanted to. And I don't like the guy now, but I'm not going to say his name or nothing like that, because he's just terrible. Just a narcissistic guy. But he does that with everybody. It doesn't have to be me. He does it with women and all that. He makes them cry and all that kind of stuff. And so I've never had that experience all my life. I've always had these kumbaya, you know, experiences with my coworkers and bosses and so forth, you know what I mean? And they would just put me under their wing because, you know, they would be mentoring me because I was like a sponge. And this guy lit me on fire. He says the next day I had to come up with this, you know, what did he say? Oh, he said to the guy, he says, that's exactly what I want. He kept saying it over and over. That's exactly how I like it. That's exactly how I want it. And I think he was subliminally saying it to me. And so what I left there, I was like shot. So I'm going to say this was like maybe 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I never left. And I was in my office. And till 7 a.m. the next day. 7 a.m. the next, or 7:15, whatever. And because the meeting was going to be at 10. So I had a little time to, you know, brush my teeth and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, let me just tell you something. I've never done anything like this before, but let me show you what I got. And I was a little cocky because I was, you know, no sleep. So, you know, I'm surprised that I didn't say anything disrespectful. But, you know, he says, okay. I like what you did. It's not exactly what I want. He still said it. He still didn't give me that. That's exactly what I want. You know, so.
You know, Bruce, this reminds me, you know, about the situations when somebody's presenting something and then you just don't understand. And, you know, so everybody is quiet and they don't understand neither. But
nobody. Fess up, say something, say, I don't know.
And somebody has this courage to ask this question. Me neither.
That's me. I'll speak up in a heartbeat. They used to break my stones when they would get ready for a tournament. And I said, well, wait a minute, I'm not seeing it that way. And this, can you go from step 1 to step B? Okay, we'll tell you one more time. And then they'll say it a different way. And I finally got it. But I wasn't the only one that didn't get it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to ask you, because you were saying about asking questions, that this way you grow also. If you don't know something, then you ask. And this is kind of a way to make good decisions. And what helps you to make good decisions also, like especially if you have a role, you were promoted and you don't know, what helps you to decide on the things that sometimes you don't know?
Sure. Especially when it comes to gaming, data-driven decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Show me the numbers, help me understand what that number means. How did we get there? One of the challenges for us when it comes to the cruise line is you've got 26 ships floating around the world, and the way that information sometimes flows in. So I've told our team, I said, we need to be so intimately familiar with our business that if something comes through and it doesn't look right, we can kind of spot it out from a high level, right? I don't know all the details of it, but I can say, well, wait a sec, based on these historical trends, this looks off. Let's dig into that number. But I think just being able to understand where the numbers are coming from and falling back on maybe what you previously did in a different role, or as you're asking questions with other people, just understanding what those numbers mean before you make a decision. And the other thing is, decisions don't have to be made on the drop of a dime. I would way rather tell somebody like, hey, let's just pause. We don't have all the information. Let's regroup tomorrow. Let's get some more data together, and then we'll make a better, more well-informed decision. So I think just being patient also helps pay off.
Yeah, that sometimes you make a decision, like not being 100% sure if it will be the best decision. And like, as you said before, but intentionally, like you want to make a good decision, not the bad one to harm the business.
Yeah. And it's funny, especially from a slot world, right? Like slots are a methodical process. It's a methodical decision. You want to put a game on the floor. You want to see how it performs over 90 days, 120 days, right? If a game takes off out of the gate, just sit back, relax, don't get too high. If a game flops right away, it might be the location, it might be something else. Let's just take a deeper look into it. But we have the cool opportunity because we have 26 small casinos, right? That's what the ships are to us. They're 26 small casinos. So we can try things on one ship, try something else on a different ship, and you can kind of measure the differences. And as long as you have same style of ship in the same itinerary, in the same location, you can see what performs well. So we do that a lot as well. We kind of use that as an opportunity to test out different things, which is great to get a lot of data back.
Man, you have the dream job, man. People say that about me coming to Punta Cana. Yes, and that's the truth. But I'm retired now, so I have the dream. I'm on an island and so forth. But I tell you what, those are great opportunities, and those challenges are pretty interesting too. Have you run into any volatility issues or game protection issues when it comes to like whether it be card counters, cheats, scams, and things like that? Have you run into any things like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. There's going to be people that take their shot. We have a really good shoreside team and a really smart guy. His name's Dennis, and he built this tool where he measures out the hands coming out of the shoe, and he measures the volatility of the shoe, and he looks for irregularities. And, we'll look and see if somebody's betting structure changes drastically with the favorability of the shoe. That might be somebody that we want to take a look at, right? It's one thing if you're going from 100 to 200. If you're going from 100 to 5,000, okay, there might be something going on there. So we do a really good job protecting ourselves there. The beauty part about the casino on the ship, though, is it's not quite as opportunistic for some of these players at a shoreside because you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. We got you on the ship for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. So we don't see quite as much of it as you would somebody coming in, trying to do something quick and then leave. Because we know who you are. We know what room you're staying in. If there's a problem, you're not getting off the ship until we address it.
Or you might get off early in the middle of the
Or you might get off 100%. We'll get you off at the next port. No problem. You can meet our friends there.
No, before you get to the port is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't say that, Dan. Don't agree with me. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not agreeing with that one.
No.
But it's great though, because it's not uncommon if there is some type of activity. It doesn't happen often, but we can get law enforcement involved, and they can meet them at the port, and it's a really uncomfortable situation for the guests, but they put themselves in that position.
So how does that work too, with regards to enforcement of law? Because you're out in international waters and things like that. That had to be something that you had to get accustomed to as well, right?
Yeah, big time. You know, kind of the biggest thing for me to get accustomed to was I came from a casino company to a company with a casino, right? Two vastly different things. And I kind of enjoy that part of it, right? Because the casino is a big part of our business, but it's never going to be the front and center. You know, there's not going to be a slot machine on the promenade at you know, you're going to walk into. We're a family friendly cruise environment. And I love that about it, but we can maximize our space and our opportunity. So international waters absolutely allows us a lot of flexibilities and opportunities that land-based doesn't, but it's nothing that we take advantage of. It just actually makes it a better process for the player. But there are those issues from time to time where something happens and local law enforcement gets involved. But like I said, it's pretty rare on the cruise line. You know, people are really coming to have a good time. And it's a fun crowd for sure. It's different than a land-based, right? It's not quite the grind.
We had something that Cassia and I said that we wanted to do. We wanted to have this. You have to agree or disagree that you want to even play this game or something. It's called Cassia came up with it. It's called What Would You Do?
That's all I need to know.
We come up with a scenario only because I didn't come up with it because Cassia came up with it. So now, you know, you want to make brownie points with Cassia. Okay, I understand that. You know, I go through that too. Cassia, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
So the scenario is, what would you do? So now, are you open the casino's open 24 hours or not? It's open at night, right?
Yeah. So some of the casinos we operate 24 hours, but a lot of it is restricted by, you know, what port we're in or what part of water we're in. So yeah, where we can, we maximize the hours. Okay.
So this is a basic question. It's like a 101 casino table games question. However, it is a common challenge for operations that have been open for years. And it's just conditioning. So now the tables are full and they're at low minimum bets. I don't know, maybe you don't see any $5 tables anymore, but say it's a $10 game. Okay. $10 minimum blackjack game or something, or even a roulette table. And now you have all the seats are full and you have people standing around that want to play. They can't play. What do you do? What would you do?
Sure. So for me, it's supply and demand, right? I want to yield our table games appropriately, but not aggressively. One of the things that we have the luxury of on the cruise line is it's a different type of player, right? It's a more casual player. We want them to have fun. Like I said, they're with us for a long time. But if there's people behind you waiting to play and we're able to yield the game to a higher minimum, we're going to let you know, hey, at this time, or hey, X amount of hands left, and then we're going to yield up, because it's just simply a supply and demand issue. What I don't agree with, Bruce, and I'm right, table games isn't my background. So I speak from a player point of view because I love playing 3-card poker. Worst game for the player to play. And I see the numbers all the time, but I still play it. It's so much fun. What I don't agree with is somebody's got it fixed in their head that at this time at night, the tables are just going to bump up, regardless of who's waiting. I've left the table before because I'm like, what are you doing? There's two of us here. There's nobody waiting. Why are you raising that limit? So I don't agree with that, right? I want to do it appropriatally, but not aggressively.
Me neither.
Yep.
And there's another thing I don't agree with too that happens, and it comes from different mentalities and different cultures. If people want to raise it, close the table, they'll say the minimum. They're going to raise the minimum, rather than just be upfront. Just say, hey, this table is going to be closing in another half hour, but let me find another. These tables are going to be open over here until whatever time, so forth. And I've worked with people that came from places they did that. I said, well, what are you doing? Oh, just raise the limit. You got to close it. No, tell them we're going to close the table in a half an hour. Be honest, because you think I am over here? I've been playing this game, so forth. And like you said, there's only 2 players on the game. And why would you raise the limit? It's like a smack in the face.
Absolutely.
Also, you may run into and they don't do it too much anymore, but you run into the player that's been there playing for an hour, 2 hours at that $10 minimum. Now they're feeling like they're being punished, and some places would grandfather them into whatever their bet was, let them continue to play that. But the problem with that is when you have other players that come up with that higher limit, they don't know that those were the conditions with them, that they've been playing for so many hours. You're like, hey, what is this here? Then if I'm a black guy that walks up and say it's racial, it's discrimination. What do you mean? He can bet 10 and I got to bet 25? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So those are the things you run into also. So
Yeah, you know, it's great though. It's funny. And I said it before and I meant it. You know, I think about you, Charlene, Paul, Stacy, and you know, I was always kind of a fly on the wall around the table games operations because I was on the slot side and I was on the marketing side. So I was able to learn a lot from you guys without being in the department. That's really benefited me now. And like I said, we have some really strong people on our team who do a great job. But yeah, you know, we definitely could probably yield more aggressively, right? We could on the ships, but it's something that I'm learning too. It's a different type of experience that guests are looking for. And we want to make sure that we provide that without, you know, only thinking about the almighty dollar, where I think we have a bigger opportunity. And it's funny because we're space constrained on our ships. So if you think back to how Hard Rock was back in the, you know, early 2000s, it was take every square inch, put a gaming device, add a pit, whatever you have to do. And we actually realize, and what COVID has taught us is you can have less gaming that's more comfortable and you can yield better results. So we need to take a look at our layouts and say, how many boxes are we putting on there? How crammed is that table? What if we had less boxes and less players, but more hands per hour, and we had a better experience for guests? So I think we can kind of organically yield it that way to produce the same results without just forcing a minimum bet on somebody if it's not needed.
Yeah, there's some software out there like Tangam.
Tangam, yep.
They use as well, the table games yield management systems and so forth. They're really intuitive with regards to performance metrics. You know, that's the same as going from 7-seat blackjack tables to 6-seat blackjack table, right? So
I'm loving it, man. I love everything about it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, you're liking the food too, because you put on a few pounds, man. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Come on, it's the camera, Bruce. I don't know why we have to go there. Come on now, it's the camera. Don't laugh at that, Cassie. Don't laugh at him.
No, it's the beard. It's the beard.
It's the beard.
It's tough love.
Beard. I still have my COVID beard.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is awesome, man. So Dan, I tell you what, we've had a great time with you, man, and you know, we really appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us. And you know, I'll give you my address if you want to send a couple passes and stuff into one of those cruises, man. Don't.
Maybe
you know, I'll be
maybe
more
some
than happy.
consulting on board. I think we need some consulting on board from you.
Absolutely.
I want to go too. I want to go too.
Absolutely, because you have to do your research, your casino research, and everything. But
absolutely,
you know, for sure. There's some things that you know, I don't cost much because you know you have all free food. You know, just give me the small cabin. You know,
absolutely, we'll get you set up.
You know, hey, I gotta have one more thing. I thought about this. Do you do things like creating special moments for the player? How do you accomplish that? There's something memorable at a table, you know, because
man,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you actually asked that. We have such a wealth of opportunity at our disposal because we operate worldwide, right? And we can load people up on a ship. We can create some amazing experiences. We have our private island, the Perfect Day at Coco Cay, where we have overwater cabanas. We have floating bars. We have private event space. We do crazy events there. But one of the coolest things we did was we took a group of high-level players last year and we met them over in Europe and boarded a ship. And we had an itinerary set up with excursions all over Europe. And every spot that we stopped at, when the guests came back to their room that night, there was an amenity drop. And it was a unique piece from that area that they were. So they could bring that back and remember it. And we rented out this one restaurant, and God, the girls will kill me because I always forget the name of it. But we rented it out and did an F&B pairing. And you have these people that are meeting new friends, right? They're meeting people who have a similar interest. They enjoy gambling with us and all the benefits that it brings. And now you're meeting these lifelong friends at these events. And we're able to do that, where at a land-based casino, you're kind of stuck to, you know, what you can do at the property, and you can do different events in the event space, and they do a great job doing it. But we can take people all over the world and experience our product, which is really, really unique.
Wow.
I was thinking, because like we asked this question, for me, it's amazing because so many other industries can, like, for example, like banking industry can learn from the casino industry, how to create this unique experience for
the banking industry.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Put more money in my account, you know.
No, because yes,
that's unique.
Yeah. I mean, yes, to to convince them to put those money to their bank. Yeah, of course. Like they have like highly, quality
Pastor, you didn't come up with that
clients.
example. Come on, give me another
I'm
one.
not. I'm
Another
not that
bank.
client. I'm not that client. But
Come on, come on back. Like-
no, it is like in every industry.
We go through this all the
Industry,
time,
they are
Dan.
the
So
best.
don't
They are
worry.
the best.
I love it.
Don't feel uncomfortable. You should have seen us in Punta Cana here. Oh my God.
I love it.
So much fun. Go ahead, Casa. I'm sorry.
I finished. Like you always interrupt me.
No, I do not.
You always interrupt me. I finished.
Are you fighting? Is this a fight?
Yes. Yes, it's a
Oh,
fight.
this is adorable.
That,
Aw.
like we are. You don't know. We are now. We are now nice to each other, but we are fighting a lot. Like behind the scenes, it's like.
I love it. It's fun
old.
to watch. You guys have good rapport.
I'm old now, so I don't. You know how that gets. So, but Dan, thank you so much. We're going to keep an eye on you and keep us posted of what's going on with this whole Royal Cruise Line. I know it's great when you see it grow like you did with the Seminoles.
No, absolutely.
Part of the growth.
It's exciting for sure. I appreciate the opportunity, Cassie. It's awesome to meet you. And Bruce, always good to see you, man. I love you, brother.
I love you, man. I love you more, man. So I'm going to hit the. I'm going to.
Let's make a photo. Let's make a photo.
Go ahead. Do it. You want to do it?
Yes, I will do it. Like,
Okay.
let's smile.
Smile all the time.
Okay, cool.
You did it? Okay,
Yeah, I
now
did.
dance a little bit.
Yay!
Okay,
I
now
love it.
I'm gonna stop recording, but I'm not.
No, Bruce, stop. Like, wait a minute. I want to say something. So, like, quick note to our view. It's recording, and I want to say something. So, quick note to our viewers: to, like, if you liked our episode and like also the previous one, please hit subscribe and share and comment, and share this with your friends. Like, we have, like, in future we will have also great guests. We so far had great guests, so we hope like you like it, and we provide great information for you.
Yeah, and we have a sponsor coming real soon too.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Exciting.
yeah, I won't have to edit anymore. You're gonna get some real good quality editing and so forth. So see you, Dan. But we're gonna keep you on for a minute. I'm gonna hit the stop button. But hey, thanks a lot, Dan. Take care,
Yeah.
man.
Appreciate
have fun
y'all.
in Alaska.
Yeah.
Don't know